narrates to us about how the Lord gave Mary Magdalene a very special privilege. First and foremost, we see that the background of Mary Magdalene, that she was someone who had received an excessive forgiveness of the Lord. And therefore, because she was forgiven so much, her gratitude for the Lord also was excessive. She was joyful, she was happy, because the Lord had forgiven her of her many sins. Therefore, her love for Jesus also was likewise excessive. Because she had received so much of forgiveness, she realized her particular state, and she also acknowledges that she was brought out of such a sinful state, and therefore she was also able to love Jesus more than probably even his apostles. Probably that was the reason why Jesus, the risen Jesus, appeared or made himself known to Mary Magdalene first, even before he appeared to the apostles. On the day he arose from the dead, on that very day, Jesus appeared or made himself, or rather Jesus showed himself as risen to Mary Magdalene herself. So that's the first thing. The amount of, let's say, guilt or the burden that she had felt about herself, since that burden was lightened and removed, she was also able to reciprocate to the love of Jesus. Likewise, each of us too, when we are able to acknowledge our condition, our state, whatever it might be, big or small, before the Lord is ready to give us his forgiving grace. And if we have truly received the forgiving grace of the Lord, then we will always be grateful. We will be able to love the Lord back the way the Lord himself has loved us, the way Mary Magdalene was able to love the Lord. That's the first thing that we can acknowledge. The second thing is, as I said, the risen Jesus appeared to Mary Magdalene, although she did not recognize him the very first instance, but her recognition of Jesus was instantaneous. The very moment Jesus uttered her name, she was saying, to those angels, she was asking them, and to Jesus himself, thinking that he was a gardener, she was saying so many things. But the moment Jesus called out Mary by name, immediately she was able to recognize that it was indeed the Lord. That's why the name that we have received on the day of our baptism is the name with which the Lord has called us. Whatever it might be, our parents may have given us whatever name it might be. We may not like it sometimes, we may like it always sometimes, but whatever it might be, on the day of the baptism, with whatever name we have been baptized, that is the name with which the Lord has called us to be his children. Okay? Because on the day of our baptism, Jesus has accepted us as his children, his son, his daughter. And therefore, since the Lord calls us by that name is really very significant. When Mary heard her name, immediately she was able to recognize that it was the Lord Jesus. So therefore, the name that has been given to us on the day of our baptism is very significant, and we cannot use it just like that. No, we cannot even profane it either. Why? Because that is the name with which God himself has called us the very first time. And if our hearts are like Mary Magdalene, we will be able to recognize the Lord immediately. If we are not able to recognize the Lord, it means there is something lacking, not in the Lord, but in us. Not in his calling, but in our response to his call. And thirdly and finally, the Lord Jesus makes Mary Magdalene as the messenger, the carrier of the good news. Because apart from everything else, the Lord tells her, go and tell my brothers. So to the apostles, to them, Mary Magdalene goes and tells immediately, the Lord is risen. So she becomes the messenger. Jesus is the message, and Mary Magdalene is the messenger. Likewise, each of us too, when we have been called by name to be the children of God, the Lord makes us His messengers. We are called to carry this good news to other brothers and sisters of the Lord Jesus and tell them that the Lord indeed is risen. The Lord indeed is gracious. He is merciful. He is forgiving. He is kind. He is loving. All these things. We are called to be messengers of the good news that the Lord has given to us. So in order to be messengers, first we should receive the message. We should be able to accept the message. We should be able to, let's say, literally digest the message. And the message should become part of us. Then only we will be able to be the messenger. That is what the Lord Jesus probably wants of us this morning. So even as we continue with this whole Eucharist, on the one hand, we thank the Lord because He has actually called each of us by name. Whatever name we might be having, the Lord has called us by that name. And the Lord has made Himself known to us through that name that He has given to us. And having made Himself known, the Lord also wants us to be His messengers. Asking the Lord for the grace to be able to recognize all these things that the Lord is doing for us, to recognize whatever the Lord is asking or demanding of us, and also for the grace and the ability to respond and say yes to this call of the Lord. Asking the Lord for these graces, we shall continue with this Eucharistic celebration.
Hymn number 256, 256.